Welcome to a 30-minute flow focusing on the throat chakra, the Vishuddha. And often we think about this as our place of our voice, our advocacy. The reason you would want to strengthen your own voice in its representation and its authenticity is so that you can speak for those who cannot. In terms of yoga, I like to often focus on standing poses to represent that authenticity. Today, we are not going to do that. We're actually going to kind of flip the switch and go a different direction on a much lower intensity. So if you like a lower intensity class, you found the right place. We're focusing on hips and jaw. If you do some research or talk to your body worker, there's an internal anatomical connection between the jaw and the hips. And so because of this space that is focused energetically on the jaw, the neck, the throat, we are going to tie that together with that bigger area of the body in the hips. I'm also just going to tell you now, we're going to do a little bit of mantra work to activate the voice. You know, you're at home, you can either skip this or join in, but I do want you to be aware that I'm going to throw that in through most of the poses we do today. And there is value in that activation of your voice. It helps you feel more like yourself. It helps you clear out stuck energy that might be living there because of communication blockages, etc. So I hope you enjoy today's class. Again, we're going to kind of keep it chill. That said, we are going to start standing. And I forgot to mention, we are going to use, for sure, one block, something similar. Firm pillow would be fine. And maybe a rolled blanket. It's kind of an option whether you want to use that or not. So like I said, we'll start standing. I want a super wide stance. This alone is a great way to support your hips and therefore support your jaw. So wider than you normally stand, which allows your hips to kind of naturally balance in that wide foundation. So don't do anything else besides take the wide stance and just take a couple deep breaths, any which way. None of the poses we do today are going to be specific for the jaw, but we are going to focus a lot on the neck and those tight connective tissues that relate to the jaw. I want you to continue to circle back to whether you feel like you're clenching your jaw, kind of biting down, holding it to one side, and try to release that throughout this class. Drop your chin to your chest and roll neck one direction. So this is a lower intensity class, but we have a variety of poses I'd like to get to. So we aren't going to linger too long in any one pose. Drop your chin and go the other way with the circles. That being said, I want to kind of open the door to opportunity after this practice is through. If something feels really good, maybe you revisit it and stick with it for a little bit after the practice. Next time chin comes through center, lift your head. And then heel toe your feet wider. We're going to come down into a horse goddess style squat. That means toes are out, heels in. And we're going to do these hip movements. We've done this multiple times before, but maybe you haven't joined me in this. You're going to just swing your hips forward. So I'm going to be really exaggerated. So swing your hips forward and then swing them to the left, back, right, forward, left, back, right, forward. So adding some mobility here. Let's do one more like this. I think about it like a box, making your hips kind of move within that box. And then we're going to take those hips in a circle that same direction. And now just be super fluid about that circle. And of course, there's going to be some sticky points. So just feel it out. And again, this is a great time to just notice what your jaw is doing and let it go. Good, and then come into that kind of center. You can almost bounce in the center. We're going to do the exact same thing the other direction. So swing it forward, right, back, left, forward, right, back, left. 2 more times in this kind of box style. And then you're going to take that in a circle, turn the box into a circle, so a little bit more mobility, noticing where things are at, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the neck as you do these movements. And now come on down into a little bit deeper goddess squat. So if you want, you can widen your feet a little bit. We're going to go in and out of some squats here, and we're going to incorporate lion's breath right away. So if you don't know what lion's breath is, sticking your tongue out, bulging out your eyes on an exhale. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to stand, inhale, exhale into lions. And we will incorporate this in another pose. This is just a great way, I think, to get into it right away. So inhale, reach up. Exhale. That's your lion's breath. Inhale. Inhale. Couple more. One more. Good. Stand up. We're going to transition into cow-cat, hands and knees, and we're going right into that lion's breath again. So we want to move the hips in a variety of ways while activating that throat center through breath and sound. So find your tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And let's go ahead and go into just a cow, inhale, and a cat, exhale. Next one, lion's breath in that cat, inhale. Inhale. Couple more. Last one on the side. And what I mean by side, go ahead and take a neutral spine, wiggle it out, is we're going to switch it up and we're going to do inhale cat, exhale cow, and then add the lion's breath. So we'll just do one round without. So push the mat away, arc your back. That's your inhale now. Exhale, drop belly for cow. Good. Inhale, round. Exhale. Inhale. 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 One more. Good. Go ahead and wiggle your hips. From here, we're going into monkey lunge. So I'm going to have us do left leg first, just for ease of the angle. Go ahead and step your left foot outside of your left hand. And then you can kind of widen your left foot. And then this might be fine. So right knee's down, hands inside of left foot. Or you might bring your right forearm down, and you may even lift your right knee and kind of wiggle it back a little bit. And you've got this block or something similar. You could always bring the forearm there instead. Once you're in the pose, just kind of breathe into it and allow, we haven't done a ton of warm up for this pose yet. So just allow what happens to happen. Take some deep breaths into your hips and into your neck and throat. We are going to add that mantra. So these are the bija mantras. They're usually associated with each chakra, but we're going to do all of them here in this vocalization practice. So the first one, they all sound very similar. There's a different first letter. So the first one is with an L for Lisa, Lam, L-A-M. So take a big inhale. Lam. You want that vibration of the M. Couple more. Inhale. Lam. Move your neck around as needed. Inhale. Lam. Inhale. Lam. One more. Lam. Go ahead and come up. Change sides. Other side. Right foot outside of right hands. Kind of widen that foot. And again, you can stay up here on 2 flat hands. You could also support yourself in any way you need. I'm going to kind of mirror what I did on the other side, especially for that release of the hips, and hopefully release the hips as evenly as possible. Take a breath or 2 here, just feeling out what's different, what's the same on this side of your body. And then this time we're moving on to VAM. V as in Victor, A-M. Inhale. VAM. Inhale. VAM. Inhale. VAM. Twice more. Last one. Go ahead and come up onto your hands. We are transitioning to Malasana squat. And this is where I'm going to give you 2 options, depending on what your prop looks like, or props. Option 1 is going to be sitting on your block on that kind of middle or highest level. So coming here. This is great if you're pregnant or if squat is just one of your least favorite poses. I like the rolled blanket. You could also do this with a rolled mat, not a full mat, but a half mat. I like it underneath my heels. This gives me still a really deep hip stretch, but the roll underneath the heels gives me support so that my pelvis doesn't feel like it's bearing all the weight. My spine can be long, my neck can be a little more free, and obviously that relates to the jaw. So go ahead and find whichever variation of Malasana works for you. And again, we want one where you feel like you can hang a little while, even though it won't be a super long time. Take a couple breaths in silence. And then we'll move into Ram with an R for Robbie. R-A-M. Inhale. Ram. Now that the spine's a little straighter, feel that vibration all the way through the spine. Inhale. Ram. Inhale. Ram. That long spine, I feel like I've got more ability for my voice. 2 more. Inhale. Ram. Last one. Ram. Take a moment, see if you can soften your jaw even more. Feel the warmth that those vibrations create inside. And go ahead and come to a standing forward fold for a moment. Straight legs to let that energy flow back through. See what you can do about your neck. Soft no, maybe a soft yes. You want it to hang heavy and long. Next pose is Virasana, Hero's Pose. So I'm actually going to use both props since I have them, and I think that can help you set up. So Hero's Pose is where the knees are kind of together, but the feet are separated hips distance, and you're on the tops of the feet, soles pointed to the sky. Most people need some sort of support under their hips, and especially today, where we're trying to support the hips and allow them to relax more than stretch. So I'm going to I have a pretty big block. If I didn't have this tall block, I would maybe use 2 smaller ones, just FYI. And I'm also going to just unroll my blanket, kind of create a little padding, just like a little additional layer. So from there, I like to block the wide way so that it's as wide as my feet, gives my hips a real solid base. And so if you're someone whose knees hurt with just one block, option 1 is to skip this and do a cross-legged seat instead. Option 2 is to keep stacking those blocks, 2, 3, couple more, so that you can really sit tall and allow those tendons and muscles that connect to your knees to soften. We're going to, now that you've got your hips on the block, you just want it neutral. You're not trying to stretch any which way, you're just sitting, but obviously all this connective tissue around your hips and pelvis is starting to kind of allow for this new pose. We're going to bring the hands, 2 options. Option 1 is you hold your forearms, kind of hold your elbows more or less behind your back. Option 2 is for you to bring your 2 palms together in reverse namaskar. So that's going to be slightly more challenging, and if this causes strain, then don't do it. The reason, if it works for you, that I like it is that it stretches that connective tissue around your shoulders, which of course deeply connects to your neck and your jaw. So once you've got that, go ahead and just take a breath. No sound this time. We're just gonna Do some neck rolls again. So drop your chin and roll. Make a circle, but don't overdo it. You're not trying to throw your head any which way, you're just stretching. Adding mobility to a place that carries so much, that channel that carries your communication, the channel that connects your brain to your body and your body to your brain. Without any judgment, just notice what changes when you're in a arm stretch as well, unlike the beginning when we were just standing and taking neck rolls. Next time your chin drops to the chest, switch directions. One more. And then go ahead and just stand, or rather sit up. Notice your shoulders, notice your neck, notice your jaw. Release your hands. Let them just rest for a moment. And then we're going to go into Gomukhasana. And so Gomukhasana is not a pose that I generally take on a block, but I'm going to prop myself up on a blanket today because I think, again, back to what I said earlier about we're trying to support, not stretch. So I'm going to take that blanket and make it into just like a little square fold. And then I'm going to remove the block. And so some people do like Gomukhasana on a block. Just kind of depends. But I do suggest something, some lift. So I've got a little fold here. That feels pretty good. Straighten your legs just for a moment. Point and flex. And then bend your knees to set up. You're going to take a left foot. So sometimes people call this shoelace pose. In yin, they do. Left knee bends, foot beside right hip. Right knee bends, foot beside left hip, more or less. One thing to note here is if your bottom knee feels too much pressure, you just straighten that leg straight out. So give that a try if you need. So with the block, I'm not able to kind of align my hips quite, or rather align my legs quite like I want, but I'm going to trade that in for supported hips. Bring your left arm up beside your ear. Bend the knee, bend the elbow. Head pushes into left forearm. And as always in this pose, this is a great place to be. You don't need to move past this. If you want, it feels good, take your right hand behind and clasp the two hands. Push your head into your forearm. So we are going to add our vocalization back here. We are at Yam, Y-A-M. Inhale. Yam. 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 Last one. Yum. Release hands. Just take a moment before you transition anywhere else. Straighten legs. Point flex. Bend knees. Right foot, the lace ties underneath. Left knee on top. Again, if you're propping up and you normally feel a little different in this pose, that's okay. Allow the hips to settle. And then right arm up. Bend the elbow. Stay here for a moment. Push arm into head into arm. Notice if, for me, this is tight. It's tight around the arms, the shoulders, the neck. Notice if the jaw kind of wants to hold that tightness for you. And then give her permission to not. Left arm down and up. If you're taking the clasp, if that's comfortable for you, if that feels like a good place to be. We're moving up to the Bija, the seed mantra of the throat space. Hum with an H, H-A-M. Inhale. Hum. Last one. Release the arms and let them just be. Release the legs. Moving on to our side, down on the mat. So I'll face you both sides. So you're gonna lay just straight on your side, and if you're most likely, my preference is that your head is just gonna rest on, I'm on my right side. We'll just assume that, or just switch the cues. So head is resting on right arm. And then you're gonna bend your left knee and hold that foot. So that could just be, this could be it. Keep your right foot flexed to keep some balance. There will be some kind of balance challenge here. If you've got the ability, if it feels like something you can do, go ahead and kick. Create a little bit of a bow shape here. Doesn't have to be big. We're not going to stay as long. We are going to add the mantra. We're moving up to Om, O-M. Just Om. Inhale. Om. Just twice more on this side. Inhale. Om. One more. Om. Then release the foot. Use your left hand as a little bit of a balance just to lay here and let the muscles relax, the jaw relax. And then switch. So again, I'm just going to switch facing the camera, but you can just roll over if you prefer. So left ear, left arm, straight line throughout. Those left toes are flexed to create some stability. Then the right knee, hold the foot, and then just see about that. So that already kind of throws the balance. So you may not need anything else. If it works for you, push the foot back so it starts to become a little bit more of a back bend, a stretch in the hip and the chest and arm. And we'll stick with Om 3 more. Inhale. Om. Release. Stay again just in that straight shape with the right thigh, right hip, and your jaw and shoulder relax. Go ahead and roll onto your back. On your back, just start wider feet, not only wider on the mat, but wider from your body, away from your body. And just do some windshield wipers. So chin goes one direction, knees go other. So kind of coordinating that up. And this is a familiar movement. We do this a lot. Stick with this, or as it kind of comes up, you just hug in and then down and other. So just adding a little more mobility to your flow. So that Om was the final Bija mantra for the 6th chakra, that's the 3rd eye. And then the 7th is silent, as that's a very esoteric chakra, as we talk about in our classes. Then one more of these. The next time one knee is up, lift the other, and we're going to go into our final pose, which is going to be happy baby, but very gentle. And so the one way to make it gentle is to take your hands inside. So sometimes we want to reach the outside. We're going to take the inside of the foot and maybe place those hands on the heel. So you're not kind of reaching for the toes. It's okay if your feet even point upwards a little bit. Less of a reach. And still let those arms be heavy, kind of pouring weight into your thighs. And then also just take a moment to really adjust. I'm taking my hips and kind of shimmying them further away right now. And just be in this place. So we're thinking more of a yin style happy baby here, where it's just wait and letting go. We're not trying to make the pose anything. Instead, we're seeing what the pose uncovers by doing less. So like I mentioned, there's no more vocalization that we'll do in this class, but I do want you to soften around those channels that created the vocalization in your tongue, your jaw, your throat, your belly, your diaphragm, your brain, your skull, go ahead and release the feet, bring your knees in and just kind of rest your hands on your shins. This would be a great place to enter into a nice long shavasana or a meditation. Maybe there are some restorative poses or yin poses that you'd like to do now. That's another great avenue. Have a really wonderful day. Thanks so much for being here.